Hey, welcome to the show, Total Financial Solutions, Safer Money Hour. Arif Halaby, along with Jeff Girard, and your place for news, talk, information. If you're a basketball fan, you may have watched the Final Four. I'm not a huge college ball fan, but, I always do like championship games. And, of course, the Final Four was an amazing one this week. I don't know if you saw it, Jeff. You pay attention to sports? You
Did
don't look
not,
like an athletic type, but
Well, thank you for that. That was your outside voice, by the way. I was a big fan of college ball. I found that there was heart from beginning to end in each one of those games, especially when it got into March Madness and, of course, Final Four being the pinnacle. I mean, that's really exciting ball to me. I think that really evokes a really cool energy in a lot of people.
One of the things that I pointed out to my kids as we were watching it is take a look at the steadiness of those young men as they were playing the game and look at their focus. Now, why is that important? Because they know millions, maybe tens of millions of people are watching them.
Sure.
They know that the game is on the line. They know that the only thing that everybody pays attention to at this moment in time is that ball. There's one ball. One ball. 10 people on the court and one ball. And when you have that ball, everybody's looking at you, and they maintained focus. They maintained a steadiness. I was watching them right off the bat hitting these three-pointers, and I thought, it's hard. It's hard for me to take a Kleenex and hit that trash can from across the room, and two people are watching.
For instance.
Just saying. It just happened earlier. The third shot made it. But, you don't get those in basketball. So don't look at me on the Final Four, but look at us for financial advice, if you will, to keep you out of debt, manage your money, plan for your retirement. That's what Total Financial Solutions is all about. And we're here talking about some of the best ways that you and your family can hopefully plan for retirement and focus on a couple of things. One of those specifically is how to build your family's IRAs and retirement plans that keep you before you're 60 and right as you're building towards that focus, that date. Because you can retire earlier, and sometimes people do, but you have to make the right money moves.
That's right, and I think a big part of this is remembering that there has to be a goal in mind with regard to your finances. I think a goal with everything, but when we're talking about money, it's very easy to just stockpile money. Not that it's easy to save money, but it's easy to stockpile money and not know why we're doing it. How many times, Arif, have we seen someone come into the office, they have what we think is plenty of money to fund their lifestyle for the rest of their life, and they're waking up and going to work like they have nothing in the bank. There are some people that do that, and then there are others that are just the opposite. But for the folks that are looking to do something retirement-wise, age 60 is a pretty good benchmark. Maybe not to stop trading your time for money necessarily, or to continue to not do anything with your time and just to start spending your money down. But it's a good gauge to see where you should be as far as your glide slope. How much money should I have saved by this time in my life so that if I want to stop or work less, not just necessarily retire, but do something else. We've talked about that in entire shows, things you can do in retirement to still build some wealth, but do the things you want to do versus what you have to do. I think this is a good time to start looking at that benchmark for you.
So let's pull up a couple of things. Some things you need to know as you're planning and building towards saving your money. One of the things I used to do when I was 18, 19 years old is I would listen to a lot of these programs. I don't even know if he's still on, but there was the old Bob Brinker and Walter Martin. Remember him? Gosh. Walter Martin was on the spiritual side. You get a lot of Bible answers. You could get various answers through folks as you kind of built your knowledge base. But today it's everywhere. You can go online. You can pull it. So why is it that you might listen to somebody like us today and pay attention to what we have to say? Is I think because it's simple. There's so much information today. There's so much noise in what's going on in the world of financial information that now it's too much.
Right.
The basics of every day of building and trying to plan really kind of outline that for so many of us, if there's too much information, we just shut down.
Yeah, we'll just tune it all out. It's kind of like having a Post-it on your refrigerator that says, pay this bill, or don't eat that chocolate cake. And then the next thing you go, wow, this is a great system. Then you put another Post-it, and then you put another Post-it, and then now you've got 20 Post-its, and now it's like white noise. You basically learn to ignore all of them. And I've seen that happen to a lot of people. And that's what's happening in the financial world, is that so many people tout that they are experts or they are specialists in all of these areas, yet what really matters to you when you look at a television program or a radio program for that matter, those people don't know you necessarily. What they should be doing is invoking some type of curiosity in you and having you ask the right questions of your team one-on-one. And part of that is going back to that goal and saying, how much longer do I want to work? These are some of the things that we should be answering and thinking about and addressing before the age of 60, because that's a good number that people work towards for retirement.
And remember, the answer isn't just about building up lump sums of money. For a lot of people, they think, oh, if I have $1 million or $500,000 or $10 million, or it isn't that. We don't spend lump sums every month. We spend monthly income. In other words, we spend paychecks.
That's right.
If you're used to your whole life receiving a paycheck, that's why Social Security doesn't give you one check at age 65 or 66 and say, that's it, see you later, good luck.
That's part of the reason.
Yeah. Yeah. Plus, they don't have the money. What they do instead is they give you a monthly check and then another check, and it's on the 1st or the 15th, and just like you were used to getting when you had a job. It's the same concept. So your income is designed, if I say here is $1 million in cash or $10,000 a month the rest of your life, some of you would say, you know what, I'll take the million. But most of you might say, you mean I can be 56 years old and receive $10,000 a month forever? Yeah.
So you're saying that no matter how bad I mess up this month, next month I'm going to get another $10,000? I'm like,
see, isn't that
the million doesn't seem so attractive.
Yeah, now. Suddenly that becomes, you have 30 days of a mistake instead of the rest of your life. When we're receiving big monthly checks, you can mess up for 30 days and you get to start over again. Isn't that exciting? Doesn't that make life very interesting? When you have a monthly paycheck coming in and you say, you know what, I didn't receive what I wanted to receive. But if you lost $500,000 or you lost your life savings, how many of us have done that in 2000 or 2008? It's a lot of money that we lost, I think.
Yeah, what was the average loss in that time frame? I think it was very close to 50%.
Yeah, just about. People lost half of their wealth. Now, you might say, oh, it's no big deal. In fact, just yesterday morning, I was with somebody that says, oh, you know, he was a broker trying to assist a client. I'll give you that story in a minute. And I thought, you know, isn't that interesting? He said, oh, but the market always comes back. And I thought, gosh, who trained him to say that? Because that's not always the case. Maybe in what, 20 years, 50 years, 100 years? I don't know. 6 months? When do you say the market always comes back? I wouldn't build a financial plan around hope and change. We tried that as a country, and we're $19 trillion in debt. We have the worst race relations that we've ever had in this nation. Economically, the banks are messing us up even larger, in larger proportions than they ever have. You need a plan. You need details. I don't know. And you need to change when you're wrong. You need to say, hey, this was wrong. I'm going to make this change. So in all of that process, your financial life is the same thing. Hope is not going to be a financial strategy. Neither is this feeling that everything is going to be okay when you're not doing things to make everything okay. So know how much longer you're going to work. Know what that looks like as a plan. And then for you, it's different than everybody else. When is the best time to take Social Security?
I'll give you the definitive answer here, okay? Listen, get your pens out. It depends. It depends on so many things. Do you plan on working? Do you plan on retiring before 62? Do you need your health care taken care of? Is your spouse the same age? Or is there a few years difference between you and your spouse? Are there two incomes? There's so many different factors. And everyone here is looking for the golden nugget. You can see article upon article upon article written on when the best time is to take Social Security. You really have to just sit down with your team. That's the definitive answer.
Yeah. Look, some of you will say 62 is the best age. And I might agree with you depending on your situation, as Jeff was saying. Some of you might say the answer is built on waiting on one of the spouses, you or your spouse, and then letting the other one ride out till age 70. That might be an answer. But did you know by the end of this month, in April of 2016, all the world of Social Security that you thought that your neighbor's cousin's brother at the dinner party last month said, those rules are changing. So however you planned before, if you don't make the changes today to fit into that new change in the rules, then it's not going to affect you. You're stuck. You now have to go back to the drawing board. And that's why the plan of building and protecting your Social Security income is going to be part of the solution. I almost think if you take it early, Oh, but my husband or my wife. If you take it early and you use some of those dollars to buy a life insurance policy, then you can spend down your retirement income and not worry about leaving anything for your kids or the charities or your grandchildren. Instead, they would receive tax-free life insurance. So you can still live on the same money, but you might be spending a little bit on life insurance, and you're now replacing what you were going to preserve and give it to them tax-free.
And that's a pretty wise move, because we have seen so many times where people think they're going to leave the same amount of money in a 401k as in a life insurance plan, and they're going to give it to their two children, and they think that they're doing a service to, an equal service to both of their children being the beneficiaries, when the tax consequences to each of those inheritances are vastly different. So what Arif's saying is, instead of giving $1 out of your retirement account and then your child receives 60 cents on that dollar, potentially, depending on where they are tax-wise, when they receive the money, you can spend $1 and maybe leave $4 worth of life insurance that's tax-free, and now that goes to your children, and they don't have to worry about how much money they earned. Is there a rule to taking it out? There's a whole host of other things that go along with giving retirement dollars to your children. So the other thing here, which I think is interesting, Arif, and I don't think we ever really break it down this way, is retirement dollars, because we always talk about jobs for each dollar, for every account that we have, every dollar we put away. Retirement dollars are for your retirement. Why are we so hung up on leaving those dollars for our children when we're supposed to spend it for our retirement? Life insurance, which was... the name was changed probably 100 years ago because it was probably called death insurance. And
yeah,
someone
it
said,
was.
That's not a very good, street name here on the market. So we're going to call it life insurance, okay? Why wouldn't that go to protect your beneficiaries or leave something behind for legacy when you die? That's what it's designed for. But I think we get a lot of things jumbled up in our heads. We might think something's too expensive, or we have a guilt or an emotion tied to it. Look, logically, spend your retirement dollars on you. Leave life insurance to your beneficiaries.
Yeah, think of it like this. There's basically 3 10-year periods in your retirement life. The first 10 years, you're the youngest and the healthiest you've ever been. And the youngest and healthiest you're probably going to ever be, in the sense that you're now retired. You're going to be traveling, spending money on things. Your kids are 22, 27, 31. Maybe they don't have children yet, or their grandkids, maybe just one. So the time is still about you and your spouse, and it's about spending that time doing things. Experiences are usually where your money is spent. The second 10, you're closer to home. Now it's more about grandchildren. Now it's more about children and family. A bit more sentimental starts to kick in. A little bit more of, if you're going to buy something, it's the house by the lake. It's the mountain home. It's the beach house where you're going to spend that time and relax, and probably bring the family there, because everybody's now doing their own thing. They have their own families. But that last 10 years, that is your health care. That's when you're going to stay closer to home for sure, but you're going to spend money not on traveling or on children or grandchildren, but on medical needs. You're going to need these funds, and I don't want you to scrimp and save in the future so that in the back end you give it all to the doctors, but at the same time, I don't want you to not give to your children if that's something you want to do. I want you to enjoy life. If look, as a financial professional, our clients really understand that the focus of what we do is teach you how to spend your money. Now you might say, Arif, have you met my wife? She doesn't need help spending. Or have you seen my husband? Look at the garage. He doesn't need help spending. That's not the point. The point is, I want you to enjoy life when you retire. Accumulating assets is one thing. Having guaranteed sources of income that you can't outlive, that's kind of an interesting concept.
That's a big deal. And you're going back to those, or I want to go back to those 10-year periods. Do we think we're the healthiest in the first 10 or the last 10?
Yeah, right.
When do you think it would be more cost effective to buy life insurance? Probably in the first 10 if you haven't bought some already. And I think a big part of what people miss here in building your finances and your financial household around 2 incomes, for instance, if you have the husband and wife or 2 spouses bringing in Social Security, whether it's equal amounts or not, when one of you passes away, so does your paycheck.
Yeah.
Now, your spouse will get the higher of the 2, but how do you backfill that money, that income every month? Well, a life insurance plan could be the way to do that.
The worst mistake that people make when both of them are making about the same Social Security is they don't understand the reliance on that second check. If one is making $2,800 a month and one is making $2,500 a month, you say, well, that's great. That's what, over $5,000 a month in Social Security income. That's great. Except here's the problem. The problem is in that formula, when one of you dies, you lose about half your income. That's a very difficult way to live. If one of you is making $800 a month and somebody else is making $2,400 a month and one of you passes away, that's $800 in Social Security. That's a lot, but it's certainly not half of your income. So we'll get to that and a few more conversation topics on building and plans to do as you're preparing to hit age 60, as you're running down, maybe you're 10 years away from age 60. You still have to prep before you hit that magic number. We'll come back right back. I'm Arif Halaby along with Jeff Girard on Total Financial Solutions. Save for Money Hour. This is your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS.